Dawn Foor has been an active member of the anti-rape movement for over 40 years. After receiving a master's degree at UCLA, she returned to her native Holland, where she completed her doctoral degree. The author of numerous articles in Dutch and American publications, Dawn has been an educator at several universities. She currently sits on the Rape Prevention Advisory Board for the California Department of Public Health in Sacramento, and she's a senior supervisor at CSP Sexual Assault Victim Services in Orange County. Dawn is a frequent keynote speaker and workshop presenter, both nationally and internationally, and she's received many awards for her prevention work, all well-deserved. Dawn and her staff speak to over 75,000 students and community members each year in an effort to stop the violence. Please join me in welcoming Dawn Foor, and if you need to come and have a seat, this would be the time to do it.
Okay. Hi, UCI. Hi, UCI. When I was in grad school over 4 decades ago, a friend leaned over in French class and whispered that she thought she might have been raped the past weekend. I remember every part of me being stifled by this massive, suffocating fog. These things did not happen to people you knew. And there was nothing and no one to help her. I saw her 20 years later, and she drew me aside to let me know that she had told absolutely nobody all of these years but me. My heart ached because the burden of her secret had stripped her of all joy, all emotions, all will, until she was simply lifelessly going through the motions of living. Because there were no university programs, no care to offer support, to offer education, to offer counseling, there was no such thing as a rape crisis center. There were no victims' rights, no Title IX, few victim-friendly laws, no compensation programs, and no dignity for the person whose body and mind had been so indelibly violated. And there were no take back the nights to give survivors the opportunity to speak out in anger, in forgiveness, in hope, and to shout out that painful, cancerous truth inside of them. But we have fixed that. Look at all of you. Yeah. I am honored to say that this is my 14th address for Take Back the Night at UCI. Yeah, time flies. And my 11th year in collaboration and friendship with the phenomenal Dr. Mandy Mount. Why are we as a community allowing this to continue unabated? I'm almost certain that if people's pinky fingers were hacked off, the community would react. So does that mean like you can see a finger, you can't see a soul? I hardly need to tell you that the epidemic of sexual violence on university campuses across the country is raging out of control. It is far worse than the Zika virus, which has garnered all the media attention. The rape epidemic even brought Vice President Joseph Biden to the Academy Awards to plead for a ceasefire on this violence. I'm sorry I'm not high-tech like Mike. I have to use paper. And even though programs like CARE, Right to Know, CHAMPS, VIP, and they're awesome. I know you're all out there, right? Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing if we didn't need them? Wouldn't it be amazing if nobody had to suffer through the shame and despair brought on by both the predators and our culture? Wouldn't it be amazing if women weren't afraid of men in the dark? If men didn't fear coming forward and seeking help? If transgenders were no longer dealt an 85% probability of being violated? And what if the media suddenly stopped normalizing and trivializing sexual violence? And if celebrity role models actually understood what the words role model meant? And what if the word consent was so ingrained in our collective psyche that it would be unimaginable to proceed without it? Wouldn't that be amazing? And what if never again a university student had to lean over and whisper, "I was raped"? Wow. I think eventually all of that will happen. I've seen equally amazing strides in this field over the last 45 years. But change does not simply explode into existence on its own. It must be dragged and hauled into being by the entire community. Here are some steps I think we could take as a community to force sexual violence down the path of cigarettes, fur coats, and pantyhose, which, by the way, women were forced to wear for many years. I don't know if anyone's worn them, but they're very unusual contraptions. First, people must immediately stop sexually assaulting other people. I know that sounds glib, but that is actually a public health concept called primary prevention, which focuses on stopping perpetration rather than victimization. California was one of the original states to require primary prevention for sexual violence education. Primary prevention theoretically eliminates victim blaming and re-victimization. And to me, fewer survivors frees up intervention money. It frees up advocates and counselors, and it enables them to go out and apply preventative public health strategies to establish healthy communities. It's a win-win. Secondly, we must immediately stop being inactive bystanders. Research indicates that up to 73% of all sexual assaults are known about by at least one other person who does nothing to prevent the tragedy. I think one of the most glaring examples of that took place 2 years ago when a Chapman University student, female, was kicked to death in front of a nightclub in Santa Ana, while 13 people videoed the entire process as she lay there dying. Safely intervening in a situation can spare untold grief. So why don't we do it? Are we embarrassed? I realize that many legitimately fear that the soon-to-be abuser will get angry at them. However, there are scores of safe, non-confrontational interventions to de-escalate a potential assault. You can get more information probably from CHAMPS or Right to Know or VIP on bystander interventions. They're the experts, I believe. Thirdly, we must immediately cease regarding and referring to sexual assault as a woman's problem. Sexual violence wreaks its power on the gendered, the non-gendered, and the transgendered. And more than that, as a community, shouldn't all of us, all genders, all ethnicities, all sexual identities, all races, all of our diversity, shouldn't we all aspire to live in a place where the specter of sexual assault haunts us no longer? Shouldn't we all want to do anything possible to make sure that people stop getting hurt like this? And lastly, the Amish employ a disciplinary practice called shunning. When members do something egregious, the community shuns them by isolating, ignoring, and excluding them from all group activities. They even have to eat dinner on a different table. This stands in stark contrast to our cultural practice of high-fiving gang rapists, blaming rape victims, and all of the other outrageous things we do to protect perpetrators from accountability. I have learned a very valuable thing from the social media generation, thank you, shaming. Yeah. Rape victims holding signs, placing the blame where it belongs on social media. They have, I looked it up, they have dog shaming, photos of little dogs with signs saying, yes, I peed on your bedspread. It's effective, right? Shaming is a marvelously non-physical way to convince others to take responsibility for their words and actions. Shame is a unique contributor to social change, and social media accelerates that process. Once upon a time, I had a dream where I was standing in a too beautiful place, speaking to a crowd of people who were committed to positive change. The audience was composed of brave and courageous survivors, support persons, activists, and individuals who simply cared. There was excitement in the air because we knew at any second we would all be released together from the bonds of rape. And then I woke up and I was standing here at UCI, and we all live happily ever after. Thank you.